Now tonight I stand before you extraordinarily humbled and honored at the tremendous privilege and high responsibility that you and the people across the 6th District have given to me to represent you in the United States House of Representatives. We have had a legacy of tremendous leadership in the 6th District. Our very own Tom Price, who's now Secretary of HHS, now Senator Johnny Isakson, and former Speaker Newt Gingrich. These men, these statesmen, have created very, very big shoes to fill. And I will do my level best to live up to the standards that they have set. To the Jon Ossoff supporters, know that my commitments, they extend to every one of you as well. We may have some different beliefs, but we are part of one community, the community of the 6th District. And I will work just as hard to earn your confidence in the weeks and months ahead. And I give every Georgian this promise. My promise is to work every single day relentlessly to make our state and this country a better place.
Right on, girl.
My pledge.
All right, Karen Handel giving her victory speech down in Atlanta. Again, the 6th District down in Georgia, and she is the winner. Jon Ossoff, the Democrat, lost that race. Very close for a district that's been Republican, voted Republican for the last 40 years. I want to bring my panel back in. David Axelrod, Gloria Borger, Dana Bash, Mark Preston, and Kevin Madden. Dana, I'm wondering what happens to, because you know, healthcare on the menu right now, what happens in the short term for what the agenda is for the Trump administration right now?
You know, I think this is one of the most potentially important implications. We talk a lot about the 2018 election, but the question is, what about tomorrow, literally tomorrow and the next day, as Senate Republicans are trying to hammer out an agreement amongst themselves on a piece of legislation to repeal and replace Obamacare. The fact that this Republican didn't lose, not so much that she won, but that she didn't lose, is one of the main things that is allowing Republican leaders to breathe a sigh of relief, because if she would have lost, and the Democrat in this race really did pound away on health care as an issue, there's no question that some skittish Republicans, and there are lots of them, would have taken that as an issue and said, you know what, this is not something we should touch right now, and perhaps moved away from it. Now, we don't know if this is definitely going to seal the deal amongst Republicans, that they can come up with a piece of legislation that they can pass the United States Senate next week, but it certainly gives them a little bit more breathing room. And the one other thing that I wanted to point out, which is noteworthy, is that Karen Handel, we just heard from her, she is going to be the first Republican congresswoman from the state of Georgia. There have been Democrats, but the first on the GOP side. Excuse me, the Republican woman, I should say. Make sure that it's on the female side.
David, I was looking through your Twitter feed. You tweeted something, I can't find it now, but I think what you believe is that Jon Ossoff had a better chance initially than he did this time? Better chance of winning?
Well, I think there's no question. Look, before the first race, I think if you spoke to most Democrats and Republicans, they would tell you that his best chance was to win in that first race, where if he had gotten over 50%, he would have been elected, because the Republicans at that point were factionalized, they were divided, there were more than a dozen Republican candidates, Democrats were relatively unified behind him. What happened since that time is Republicans coalesced around Karen Handel in a Republican district, and they ran a very good race for her, and you could see it in the turnout today they got those numbers way up in terms of Republican turnout at the polls. Today it overcame the Democratic vote by mail advantage that Democrats were counting on. So yes.
Ha ha. So that Russia again. Ha ha. The lady beat. Ha ha. She whoop your ass. Ha ha. She whip it real good. Ha ha. So that Russia again. Ha ha. Woo. Ha.
I think that he would have had a better shot. I mean, it may be in retrospect that his only shot was to win in that first election. He fell 1.5 points or something short, and now we know what the result is.
Ha ha, she whoop your asses. Ha ha, she whip it real good. Ha ha, so that Russia again. Ho ho.
They were factionalized. They were divided. There were more than a dozen Republican candidates. Democrats were relatively unified behind him. What happened since that time is Republicans coalesced around Karen Handel in a Republican district, and they ran a very good race for her, and you could see it in the turnout today. They got those numbers way up in terms of Republican turnout.
Okay, so you guys gonna blame it on Russia again? Ha ha. Everything Russia did this and Russia did that. So you're gonna blame it on Russia again? Hey, hey. She whooped your ass. She beat it real good. She beat your ass. Her ass is very good. So that Russia again. Hey, hey.
At the polls today, it overcame the Democratic vote by mail advantage that Democrats were counting on. So yes, I think that he would have had a better shot. I mean, it may be in retrospect that his only shot was to win in that first election. He fell 1.5 points or something short, and now we know what the result is. I do want to say a couple of things. I think Larry Sabato is right. We are a very polarized country. We're more polarized than ever. Party really matters. People voted party today in a district that has a history of voting Republicans. This is sobering for Democrats because there aren't that many swing districts in the country. So I mentioned before there were 23 Republican reps in districts that Hillary Clinton won. They need 24 seats to win, so they'll have to do very well among those 23 against some popular incumbents in order to win. They're also going to have to do a better job of recruiting candidates. When the Democratic Party took over the House in 2006 after a period of Republican leadership, they did it in part because they had a very, very assiduous recruiting process to go and find competitive candidates district by district. Jon Ossoff was not the perfect candidate for that district. Democrats are going to have to focus on how they get the strongest possible candidates in those districts that they think may be competitive.
Mm-hmm. And you know, their job may have gotten a little bit harder after tonight. I mean, you know, in talking to people around the campaign committees, there's no shortage of people in the Democratic Party who want to run, but you have to find the best candidates. And I also think, to add what David was saying, the Democratic Party right now is going to start going through the process of, well, should Ossoff have run more to the left? Was the message wrong? Why is Nancy Pelosi, for example, still such a target, a lucrative target for Republicans? And I was just looking at a tweet from Congressman Seth Moulton, who's a junior member of the House.
I read that earlier, and I called him Seth Mouton because where I'm from in Louisiana, it's more like Mouton. But he's saying, but basically,
It's a wake-up call.
He said it's a wake-up call. You need to look at the future. We need to have better jobs as Democrats, he says.
Well, and also I think what he's talking about, I don't want to put words in his mouth, is take a look at our leadership. Let's stop talking about 2016. Let's take a look at our leadership. Let's see where we're going.
Bingo! How many times some of us sang that song? I sang that song over and over and over again. Forget about the past, move on, get over it. They don't listen, they don't want to listen, they refuse to listen. Bam, bingo. Everything coming back and shoving it in your face or faces. Everything coming back and rubbing it over your face or faces. Everything coming back and biting your ass or asses. That's good. It's called karma. We call it God. It's good. You guys need to stop acting childish and grow up. Grow some balls. How many times we're gonna sing that damn song over and over again?
Going in the House. And so you can be sure that there's going to be a really vigorous debate inside the Democrat.
Jeez, grow up, grow some balls. Especially Nancy. That lady cannot speak. She cannot get her words out. She doesn't even know what she wants to say or how she wants to say it, and when she wants to say it, she needs to get off the air and behave herself like an old lady. That's what she needs to do.
For her, and you could see it in the turnout today. They got those numbers way up in terms of Republican turnout at the polls today. It overcame the Democratic vote by mail advantage that Democrats were counting on.
Everyone in there need to grow some balls and grow up. Forget about whatever. Just let it go and grow up, grow some balls.
Yes, I think that he would have had a bet.
Jeez. What kind of shit is that? They call themselves leaders. Behaving and misbehaving like 2 years old babies. Grow up,
Is going
man.
to start going through the process of, well, should Ossoff have run more to the left? Was the message wrong? Why is Nancy Pelosi, for example, still such a target, a lucrative target for Republicans? And I was just looking at a tweet from Congressman Seth Moulton, who's a junior member of the House.
I read that earlier, and I called him Seth Mouton because where I'm from in Louisiana, it's more like Mouton. But he's saying, but basically,
Not in
Gloria,
Connecticut.
yeah,
It's a wake-up call.
He said it's a wake-up call. You need to look at the future. We need to have better jobs
Right.
as Democrats. He says.
Well, and also I think what he's talking about, I don't want to put words in his mouth, is take a look at our leadership. Let's stop talking about 2016. Let's take a look at our leadership. Let's see where we're going in the House. And so you can be sure that there's going to be a really vigorous debate inside the Democratic Party right now, not only because they lost this race, which they hoped they could win, but as we've all said, it's a Republican district, but also because they want to have a message. And they don't seem to coalesce around anything at this point, and that's problematic for them. Being anti-Trump is one thing, but maybe you need something
I
else.
want to hear from the Republican here because Republicans are saying right now the president is saying, take a look at us. We won. He's saying congratulations to Karen Handel on her big win in Georgia 6th. Fantastic job. We are very proud of you, Kevin Madden.
Yeah, well, look, the president ought to take a victory lap here. He deserved it. He went all in on it. And he probably came in at just the right time, too. It was at the end where Republicans really needed to just fire up their base and turn out folks on Election Day. There's something we have to be very aware of. There is Democrat enthusiasm out there. They are coalescing around this resistance movement. The problem for them is it's just not enough. And they cannot be happy with moral victories. What they need are actual victories. And I think, to Gloria's point, this is a party that's going through a transition. And they have not found a message in a post-Obama world. They haven't found out how to want it in a post-Obama world. And so the thing that I'm encouraged about as a Republican is that Republicans do recognize that we do have, maybe some headwinds that we're facing. But we're taking all the necessary steps to survive in this particular environment and to, focus on how we have to message in suburban districts like this, where maybe the president isn't as popular, but can be used to counter-program that Democrat enthusiasm out there.
Are you surprised at all of these wins, Kevin? Because if you you look at Georgia, the one there. If you look at the South Carolina race, so it was supposed to be a landslide. The GOP only won by 2,000 votes. There was no Democratic money, no national attention. So what does it say about how voters in the Deep South acted without the national party influence?
Yeah, well, look, I'm not surprised. I think we are very polarized, and I think in these special elections, oftentimes when you do have weak candidates like we have had in many of these in these special elections from both parties, usually the environment takes over, and because the environment is so polarized, these races are all going to be close. The one thing that I found encouraging throughout all of these primaries is that every time I talk to Republicans that are on the ground working in them, they're taking it seriously. They are not being complacent. They are raising the money. I mean, Karen Handel, for all the outside money that was out there, she raised $5 to $6 million by herself in hard money.
Thought. Thank you, Kevin Madden, the rest of the panel. Stick around when we come back. Much more in our breaking news. What tonight's big win for Republicans in Georgia means for Democrats, their hopes in the midterms. We'll be right back.
Wow.